as we were discussing in our other episodes, are true lovers, like our true friends, but true friends, true lovers. I know I use that word. Every person loves in their own way, but the true lover is a person who, as we have been discussing, like a friend, has a whole heart. When we have the non securely attached people, they're not true lovers because they're not a 1 year old who's securely attached, so they're fulfilling the not securely attached emotional 1 year old needs, attached panicky, or the 3-7 shame submissive. So it's not that it's not love, but it's that they want a warm body and a warm ear, so they're looking to have their insecure 1 year old, 3 to 7 year old attachment nervous system and their child part self needs met, and all the way to their teenager. So if you have a person who's not a grown up, that's what we got, okay? But we won't be talking about those. You can tune into the other episodes. Just wanting to point out all people love, of course, but the unconditionally lovers, the ones of us who are mindfully, spiritually living and loving as our true self, we bring forth a whole heart. So we don't have a hole that longs to be captured, and that's for instead the 4D, 3D, and relationship soul age group. They capture each other, and we all have that mammalian heritage, the 1 year old. But some of us, we get internally securely attached. And so in our relational field, we're not with a person out of longing, it's out of appreciation. And then it's out of even more appreciation. So here's where our true lovers, we're talking romance now, and it doesn't matter who they are of your oversoul, you're building a genuine relationship with inner child adult consistent love language and that funny bone. Yeah, okay, so that's what's in store for the 5D collective of empowered feminines and masculines, the Christ Consciousness Collective, integrated brain, mindfulness, mindset collective, personal development, self-help, what I do. Great. Okay, awesome. That way you can understand, because that's where I support. Here we have content creation. Okay, so the channeled guidance messages for today in Food for Thought, the audio podcast version, 5D Mystic Expanding Consciousness, channeled guidance on relationships and trauma healing taken seriously. Then for our YouTube topics, we looked at true lovers who lead relationships with an inner child adult, love language, and a funny bone, thanks to mindfully, spiritually living, loving as your true self with no fear and or shame. And so the distorted feminine, masculine 3D, they are unsafe, they are dysregulated with fear and shame. There's no security or love there, so they're not going to be a part of those relationships I'm talking about. Also, the 5D collective, we have no unhealed or ignored trauma. We have no dysregulated nervous system and threat response in the lead. So you don't want to be the threat response of you. No non-bilaterally integrated brain desire. So you don't want just the left mode. You want to use left and right. We have no inner child with an adaptive child behavior or behaviors. Rigidity, unforgiveness, chaos, the fact of unbridled self-expression. Excuse me, you're confusing shit, okay? We also have no maladaptive patterns of behaviors, drinking, fucking, binge eating, whatever it is, that we are ignoring, unhealing, or not accounting for. Okay, so that's where the 5D collective, we have healthy self-regulation and self-soothing within our body, thanks to mindfulness, mindset, and mindset daily and regular practices. We own our sense of self, so in our relational field, we are living a life of meaning and connection beyond the solo self. So we get to share a differentiated self, like Dr. Dana would say, plus another differentiated self, and we're linking. And now we create a mui, and we have emotionally mature, available masters and mental available masters. Nobody is being subject to their 1, 3-year-old implicit memory, heartbroken shame, master of their own self, and then their amygdala and whatever else they've done throughout the years. So that's also where embodied, empowered feminine, again, we engage social engagement nervous system. That's why our healthy self-regulation and self-soothing moves also to the mind, where we have the inner growth mindset, not an inner critic and not an outer critic. And so bilateral and vertical integration and overall integration thanks to mindfulness, the 3 pillars of the mind, focus, attention. With mindsight means that what comes up, I'm not suppressing it, repressing it. I don't call it laundry. It's not painful. I have an emotional body that I'm comfortable with the 6 basic human emotions. And so you don't have anything that needs therapy first. You did the EMDR, child parts work, somatic, sensory motor, if you needed that first, okay? Okay, so that's why you don't have suffering like the avoidant and a longing that you are still tortured. It's called self-loathing, gut wrench, and stuff like that. Okay, and so empowered masculine, the integrated mind and brain and body. And then we have healthy self regulation and soothing with our heart because we unconditionally love our own true self with our flaws, with our imperfections, with integrity. So you're being yourself with all your child parts asleep, and you lead the way with your higher self as a functional inner child adult. So your 0 1 year old, she, he, they is whole, not needing to be captured. 3D, 4D, and relationship soul age group are all right now with our theme. That new moon began rolling out with it. The full moon continued, and we're still continuing, but the 5D collective is not continuing with a longing from a 0 1 year old that is insecurely attached. Okay, so with that, let's count the ways that we love, or I love, and that I'm sharing with you all with this episode about what true love, genuine building of a relationship is. You don't have to agree with it or not. I am sharing with you what an inner secure 0 1 year old will tell you, an empowered feminine, about a relationship. And they have to have a funny bone always. Krishna Lila, Shiva and Kali come together. It's called exploring the depths of seriousness, Krishna Lila, with playfulness. Shiva, it's no thingness. And Kali, hey Kali, it's okay. Our child parts, stay asleep. Who are you? My 16-year-old, great. Come on in, fight response. What do you want? You're upset. What are you upset about? Hey, 11 toy, what's up? Hey, 1 year old, it's okay. Don't worry about it. Right here, come on over. And I'm embracing because I am the empowered feminine. And like the sea serpent that I read to you, I got a good relationship with my Kundalini spot, and I don't need anyone actually. Nope. I don't need a masculine for that. No, they can have awakened that. I have one of my masculines, yes. But that's where you can actually participate, but not be participant, because you don't know anything about me. Why? Because masculines of the oversoul don't have any care. Again, masculines are not safe. Their heart has a hole that gets captured by the distorted feminines. Empowered masculines are safe because they're empowered feminines, which is what I'm talking to you about. I have a whole heart. I don't have a hole. I don't switch it up based on my nervous system. My nervous system and I are friends because my mind and I are friends, because my brain and I are friends, because myself and I are friends with all my child parts, and my core narrative relation and solo self aren't out to do shit from my first 3 years of life or my first 8. I don't play out Maria's child parts in my relationships, which is what instead like my facade friend does, and anybody else who's a facade, okay, who wants just a warm body, and basically it has to be the one. And friends don't count. So when you have that type of stuff, that's not very fun. As a teenager, I learned how friends don't matter. I'm not kidding, they don't, because anytime those people get happy with whoever they are, but they then build families, so it's not really true that you don't matter. Then life begins to build as you get older. So you're like, yeah, life built. But as a kid, I'm like, yeah, to my boyfriend, we're not doing what our friends do. That's shitty behavior to ditch your friends just because now you're going to live together. Like, you have plenty of time together. So, the leading with our loving, secure attachment, functional inner child adults. You be you, I be me. So mindfully and, again, flawed with integrity and spiritually. Okay, that little bit of gist so that you can understand where we come from, because otherwise you're not going to know why I'm saying that true lovers build genuine relationships with this inner child adult consistent love language and funny bone. And we'll just close on out with an example. So let's say I'm in a mood. You got stuff you work on. I got stuff I work on, because we're always working on something. But it's not hard to pour out my soul, my heart, And again, friends, they all have the same very important relationship for us. The person of, if I'm down and troubled and you need somebody, yes, we're there. Obviously 24 hours, again, limited, so you can't always pick up as we get older, but you figure that one out, and emotionally mature people know this. When you have people who are not emotionally mature, again, they're just looking for a body to play out their 0 8 year old. You're not their therapist, and you're not their mama, papa, or anything, so you don't owe person who has unhealthy boundaries, that means like the decent man, decent, you don't owe those people anything, but you do have the capacity to, with your ventral vagal state, be respectful, and that's your practice. To learn how to say no with your ventral vagal state, not a threat teenager response. And as you do that, it's because you say, this is a human being who doesn't choose their biological rudeness. Come on in, Robert Sapolsky. And so I don't need to be in my threat response. I can try to master my nervous system as I'm choosing to be a mindfully, spiritually living and loving person as my true self, which means my child parts. I want to be at ease. I want to be a restorative embodiment, integrating brain and interacting with others, okay? And as you do that, your funny bone grows. I can attest to this. This is what I've done, which is why anytime I got somebody being quote unquote a jackass, it don't matter. That ain't a lover of mine. That's not, okay? Just saying people around me, whenever anyone, I'm like not hearing it. It's because I have a good time with anyone because I'm empowered. That's what an empowered feminine does. And also it's called the somatic empath. It's called the physiological state of compassion. It's called an integrated brain. It's called you're using this. And so when you're looking in the eyes of someone, I know you, I walked with you once upon a dream. I know you. The gleam in your eyes is so familiar, a gleam. Oh, I love that song. So, again, we're enjoying, right? The story, just to give you a just random, doesn't matter what age you are. If you're emotionally mature, mentally mature, physically mature, means you own the sense of self, you have integrity, so you're going to have a good time. I can have had the shittiest of days. Maybe I'm in a bad mood. I have still a bit of Cusco attitude, but I don't lie. I just still have sometimes attitude. So I'm still working with that stuff, okay? So we're living and we're having a moment or a conversation, whatever it is, your tone and your mannerisms. But because when the iron is hot, meaning when somebody is in a reactive state and they're not practiced at getting themselves into, wait, I have another human. Okay, that's the practice. So their inner self, relational self. I'm practiced as an empowered feminine. I got a empowered masculine who's putting it into practice. This is the moment of truth. Whole heart, whole heart. Okay, so your attitude really and your tone. What is this? I don't really appreciate this right now. What's going on? Why are you upset? And that will call for conversation. I'm not upset, not a somebody talking in their head, making shit up. And if there's something serious, we want to redraw our lines, because for the solo poly secure person here, that can happen, right? Somebody is, I want to look at these lines together. The way you handle that, like the way you handle anything, if you're emotionally mature, mentally mature, and physically, again, you have no sensitive ego that you can't reassure. So my 0-1-year-old, when she gets her feelings bruised, quote unquote, and her 3-year-old, my 3-year-old, thanks to my facade friend, I know exactly how to notice it, notice what was happening, and the Cusco attitude and the spiteful dick-ass behavior, allow myself to remember the moments that I learned about what this is, and then the biological rude therapist who tell me people don't pick, and then to know that if they are picking to be self-aware, accountable, regulating, they will come in, knock, knock, hey, I want to talk about when I talked to you that way, and I said all this stuff, and yeah, remember, I've been working on not bringing up my not very secure 0-3-year-old, and well, he popped up with my 16-year-old, and I did that thing, and yeah, so, and then here's where it depends on what we're talking about. If we got a person who's seriously healing still, right, in a good way, then my follow-up is, okay, so I want to ask, since we know what your plan is, right, what triggered it? Let's talk about this, because that's what's important. You clarified what this was. Good. I'm happy. What was the trigger? Now I want to help you to do what you're telling me you're doing. What was the trigger? What happened that day? Tell me, give me. And this is the part of what, when people don't want to be their inner securely attached child parts as grown-ups, they won't do any of this. But I'm talking to you from a place of, you have people who want healthy adult relationships, and we have new stories that heal trauma for those who want it. I don't have an inner child that isn't safe. She's always safe. That's why I told you masculines are not safe. Distorted feminines are not safe. It's an empowered feminine that's safe. But then again, everyone's safe, because even if you don't act accordingly with your nervous system, like my facade friend, I know what you are. I'm not going to bring it to you, Cusco, because what you need is not me to bring anything to you. You would need your own self-awareness, accountability, and regulation, noticing how you brought yourself into the room, and then the desire to go get whatever that is handled, because those are child parts from your childhood and your story and not mine. So the capacity to be completely aware of this is the person who chooses what version of their self to be. The paused self of you with child parts that are charged and that act like Cusco and lie, because Cusco lies to Pacha, or do you want to be a Pacha? I'm talking to people who want to be a Pacha, because the community here is being built with those people, because we have people who are healing seriously, and they need healthy self-worth people, not people who think that they're like the Zen master. They're Zen when they're not, or spiritual bypassers, or spiritual egos, or mantles of mental health, the sciences egos. So when I have half a brain, excuse me, that's a person. Sure, I'm going to have a good evening. It's not part of the 5D collective, because that person is going to make other people who want to talk, and we don't need you. We don't need you to be in that space, because you didn't add a funny bone. You also didn't come in with curiosity. So you're a not adolescent essence, because you're not essential spark. You're not social engaged. You're not novelty, and you're not creative expression. No, you just told me I'm confusing something because you don't agree with it, and you didn't spot it. I can spot if somebody points out to me something that I didn't become aware. I'm going to use an example, then we're going to go. And this is not a lover of mine, but you better bet anyone who speaks to me, I'm going to listen to them. So we're having a good time, my friends and I. And I don't even remember what other story I was saying. Anyways, so not important. And one of my funny friends, he's giving me locations. And I say, okay, to that location, X, Y, Z, D, E, F, G. And I got a person who says, okay, hold on. We don't have to go down that path. Here's what we can do. And they're basically more compassionate, kind, and open to knowing they can make it. You don't have to give up on them. And I said, okay, you, my advisor, if ever I take over anything, I need you, because I didn't spot that about myself. That's called, I had an explicit and or implicit bias that came up out of my mouth. Didn't hear it, didn't notice it, person spotted it, you're on. I need you, because I didn't spot my own blindness. So ego that is all of ours can be blind with implicit, explicit. So when someone is emotionally, mentally, and physically mature, they don't present it to you as if they're scolding you. Those are teenagers. Those are threat response modulated embodiment people who are Elsa journey, Braveheart journey. And those are not what we want. So the excuse me, it's not because he did that. It's because when I said, no, I'm not. He says, oh, I'm a mystic too. Okay, now you're comparing yourself to me. And I said, okay, wait, hold on. Maybe I said it wrong. And now explain it to them again. No, because you see, and I get to see the tattoos. So now we have show and tell. So this is a 3-year-old with a 16-year-old is not there to talk to me. They're there to make a point, because their left mode just told them I'm right, they're wrong, and they're speaking incorrectly, and I'm going to come in and correct them. And that's a unnecessary human being with an ego that isn't going to add any value to us, because whatever they said, we can get from books and then do better, because we have two sides of a brain that also work with our body. And that, by the way, that's the power of the 5D collective. We're a community who don't wear masks. We don't need direction. We don't have masters, because our child parts are asleep. So they don't have mastery over us. If they come up, we know our implicit, explicit bias. We know our 14-month-old. We know everything. So we'll be able to say, okay, great job, group. Great job. And we didn't lose integrity, because Jesus, Holy Spirit, God speak clearly. So does Akash. So does Source. So does Universe. So does Sadhguru. And so does anybody of true spirituality. Spiritual ego, you will notice it when it comes into the room. If you're an empowered spiritual person with the enlightenment of the brain, that's why determined, come on in, Robert Sapolsky. I can put him here and know that science and spirituality stand right next to each other, and leave it at that. Because at the end of the day, I'm a restorative embodiment, self-aware, accountable, regulating person, and I'm learning from the people who have been confirming that anyone can do this if they want, and if they can't, then we can help them to live a good life and not go rigid or chaotic with their brain. Okay, so The power of community is when we come together, and a empowered divine feminine will not be in any way, shape, or form empowered by those who are masculines and distorted feminines, because their brain is half a brain that is regurgitating information. Might as well go grab those books, read them myself, come up with something better, because I have a consilience approach and because I'm looking to the future and not comparing it to the past. I don't need to compare it to the past. I need to look at what I have now. And tomorrow it might already be a zero, comma, comma, comma difference. So I don't need yesterday's news right now. What I need is now. And then I need brains that can also do the same in the absence of wanting the past to return, which is what you'll find when you got a spiritual ego or a science ego. Well, science ego just thinks they know everything and doesn't admit to their faults, which is that they disregard spirituality wisdom. Spirituality wisdom is great, but let's not disregard the wisdom of what we've uncovered with sciences. So when you have smart people, they're smart to know that all things can come together, because that's what smart brains do. We're love, we're compassion, we're enlightened because we're integrated brains who are energized. And so an empowered feminine, she knows when she has an empowered masculine, because it'll be an empowered feminine, which will be a person who's self-empowered and isn't needing to warm that bed because they have something longing in here, and that they, just in and out behavior. Love is easy because love is not ever hard for self-empowered inner child here. The ones who it is hard, they get therapy, and then it's not hard anymore because now they know their worth. And then they know how to go and address it and become a functional adult, very bare minimum. Like I said, here we are functional inner child adults because I am that. So you won't be hearing about it's hard or it's lonely or it's to be a grown up. How boring is it? No, it's none of that, because that's not how it feels when your child parts are asleep, they're happy, you own all of your sense of self, and you share who you are without any shame, any fear, any of anything. And when you get rejected, yeah, I went through the one and the ones and the ones and no ones, and I'm not like, oh my God, Maria, erase who you are because, something happened. I heard a song, and then we're gonna go. I'm gonna not tell you her name. The song says, no matter if I don't end up married with you or do, I'm going to get you back no matter what. And that's, well, very not interesting. Also, what you get is, you know what? I can't wait for you to see me with who I'm gonna end up, and when you come, I'm gonna say no. Very interesting again. Look at them suffering. I'm so happy. Oh, finally, I found someone that can replace them. Okay, liars, you're all liars. Go have fun somewhere. Envy, jealousy, spite, you name it. You have not done anything to witness, process, and then allow yourself to, in time, let go of something called accepting rejection, like an emotional, mature grown up with a funny bone, which is where Krishna Lila, come on in. It's called your social engagement system, prefrontal, and exploring the depths of seriousness with playfulness. But also, here's the deal. God, thank you so much. He gave me 2 hands, 2 feet, and so did Jesus. So for those of us of faith, we're going to say, okay, really, I have air, I have food, I have water, I have the miracle of life. Am I going to make a big dramatic deal when we have 8 billion people out there? Doesn't matter if it's a twin flame, a soulmate. You're going to still, as an empowered feminine, have a discourse like that. And then you're going to spot if there are areas where you feel, because you're still processing, obviously, emotions that come from being rejected. I was rejected at 4. I'm sure it took me, probably at 4, it took me no time. Teenage boyfriend, in a month's time, I was like, yes, she did me a favor. And when they said, you let him get away, he wasn't my dog. I didn't have him on a leash. I didn't know I should have had him on a leash. And I don't put a leash on the lovers of mine, because if it's that easy to take him, well, they got a master. It's not me. And that's how it works. So you don't actually look to the past and be like, you do cry, but you process, you get over it, and then you smile and say, I left me. So I have a bunch of roses lying, and then tomorrow, I don't know what's tomorrow. Do you know what tomorrow brings? I know it's going to be fun, and that's your funny bone. The more you do it, the more you be it. and lovers. That's what they are for inner child adults, that is. Okay, so we'll be back with more. Again, thanks for stopping by. Empowered feminines, empowered masculines. It's been a joyride, and we'll keep coming. And the fancy woman, I'm holding it back for tomorrow. Oh my gosh, she gave me a big laugh. I can't even. Enough. Enough is enough. Like, share, and subscribe. That way you help the channel grow, and we will be back with more. In the meantime, have a wonderful day.